Hi there crafters, it's Louise with you today. Welcome along to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, I am in 2024 featuring a series of 3 old and 3 new products where I take my love of shopping for new crafty supplies with my desire to bust some of my stash. So 3 stash items are the papers, the sticker book, and my distress crayons, which haven't featured on a layout for a little while. And then the new products are the wood pieces, the rub-on sheet, and the frames from 49er Market. Now, I am incorporating this 3 old 3 new stash busting video with the Scrap a Sketch challenge. I think it's 109. I need to have a look. Hang tight. Let me check. I'm pretty sure it's 109. But that is a great way. It's 104. Sketches are a really great way to actually give yourself that first initial inspiration for a layout. So I chose this particular photo of my cat. I love to scrap my animals. I think it's super fun to look back on them through your life and how they change. And I really wanted to use the rub-on of this moment. So I had to try and find a photo that suited this moment sort of thing that I had going on. And this is a very unique photo, let's call it, because anybody who's ever had a ginger cat is going to know that they do ginger cat things. This is my first time having a ginger cat, and quite honestly, they are mental. So we actually call our cat the Ginger Ninja because she is just out of control. Anyway, her real name is Squirrel. That was the name she had when we adopted her, and she's a fabulous part of our family. We wouldn't have it any other way, but she is definitely got that orange cat vibe going on. And this particular photo that I snapped was so cute and totally unlike her, because normally if she's asleep and she sees you coming, that's it. You got to get out of the way because she's gone. All right, back to the layout. So I chose this photo for the chipboard. Sorry, not the chipboard, the title that I wanted to use. Now I'm playing with some of the pattern papers that I pulled. And I found this quite a challenge because I knew I wanted to have that sort of wood background, and I had the blue frames already picked out. So it was quite hard for me to actually get this to come together. I thought about trimming around the photo, the parts that weren't featured in the frame, but the frame is more to draw your eye. You can still see the whole photo, but the frames around the front and the back sections of the layout of the cluster, I think, really help to bring your focus to the most important part of that photo. All right, stash busting some of this sticker book, so a few little bits and pieces, and I think that these elements are quite neutral, so they're great because they fit well with any collection of pattern paper or whatever you happen to be using on your layout. So I'm pretty happy with how the 3 old 3 new series is going. I've really had great fun in actually making some layouts, and I feel like I'm almost getting back to not my scrapbooking roots, but I tend to be doing different techniques. I felt like I was a little bit stale there for a while. I was probably not experimenting and challenging myself, so to speak. So I've really enjoyed this process where it's encouraged me to actually pull out some old supplies, challenged to use them in different ways. For example, the distress crayons that I'm going to use in a little while. So really a very enjoyable process, and I hope that if maybe you're struggling a little bit with your own mojo, or you feel like you're a bit stuck, pulling out 3 old and 3 new products might be the way to go. So okay, let's get back to this layout. So you can see that I'm following the sketch pretty closely. I'm going to mount all this down because before I want to start using my distress crayons, I'm going to give the whole sheet a coat of clear gesso. Now, the reason I use clear gesso is because it doesn't dull the papers that I've got in the background. So, I told a furphy there. Did I use white gesso? I'm doing this voiceover a couple of days later and I actually thought I used clear gesso. There you go. So ignore that last comment. I'm using white gesso, and the white gesso will dull down the papers. You can see that. Whereas if you use clear gesso, you have that protective layer, but it's not going to, your paper's not going to warp. It's protected if you start to add any mediums or water elements to it as well. Now I'm simply spreading some gesso around with a spatula, and then I might spray a little bit of water. I might just use the brayer on its own, but the brayer is great because it means that you can spread that white gesso around and really get some even sort of spread with it. All right, I've let the gesso dry. I am happy with my little cluster that I've got going on here, and I want to coordinate my Distress crayon colours almost like the kind of watercolour sploshed rub-on in the packet that you can see there. So I'm using a combination of that orange and pink. Now, if you've never used a distress crayon before, these are probably one of my favourite distress products. And the reason for that is because, as you can see here, putting them over gesso gives you the chance to use them differently than it would on ordinary paper. And by that I mean, you can see me smudge the colour around with my finger, and sometimes I will use just a little spritz of water to activate that crayon, and then I'll spread that colour and blend it into those other colours. So you can see the pink melding with the orange there, and the result that you get, it's really great in backgrounds. So if you didn't put gesso down first, you would still be able to achieve this effect, but the colour doesn't spread the same way. So I would definitely recommend experimenting a little bit with how your distress crayons work on different mediums, because you can still smudge them with your fingers, but they don't go as far, so you have to use a bit more of them. And it doesn't sort of blend as well with that background. Okay, now another lesson that I'm going to share with you, lesson learned from watching me do this, is that rub-ons do not like to stick to gesso. So you see me pressing and pressing, and I'm trying to get this rub-on to stick onto the gesso part of the background, and it just does not want to go on. So I'm going to have to give up on that. But if you plan to use rub-ons, I would suggest using them before gesso, or just don't use the gesso at all. Okie dokes. So I actually really love how this came together. I think that the incorporation of the distress crayon background just adds something that little bit extra. I think the colour is fantastic. I think it blends super well on the background papers that I've chosen, and that little bit of white gesso just sort of mutes everything but allows it to come together. So I was thoroughly happy with this layout. It's not often that I'm actually happy as such. I'll often do a layout and think, okay, it's nice, but maybe I could have done this, or, you know, again, was I in my comfort zone? Should I have stretched a little bit? So this particular process, absolutely enjoyed it and loved the layout that I got in the end. So thank you to Scrap a Sketch for the sketch challenge. I don't get to do them often, but I'm trying to get to do them more. And if you haven't already, make sure you go to them on Facebook and check them out, because it's fun to participate in those sketch challenges. People put a lot of effort into them, and I encourage you to have a go. All right, in the final stages of this layout, I'm just popping a little bit of black cotton in 3 areas. So again, using our visual triangle to draw the eye. The 3 areas that I choose are about that visual triangle and making it quite pleasing when we look at this layout. Once I'm happy, I am going to use my tacky glue and stick everything down. And I'm using tacky glue for 2 reasons. One, because I've got gesso and normal double-sided tape doesn't stick very well to gesso. But also 2, if you haven't watched my videos lately, I've had a few layouts that have had some problems with their adhesive, and they have been lifting. So I'm using tacky glue on everything now just to make sure that it's really stuck down. All right, Alrighty, so this is my super cute little layout inspired from Scrap a Sketch number 104. It is also part of my 3 old and 3 new series on YouTube. So I hope that you have enjoyed that. If you're new here, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. Comments are always welcome. I love to see what you think about pages, and I also love honest feedback. You know, if you don't like something, feel free to drop me a comment and tell me what you would have done different, or if you think a product works better for certain things and how you actually go about it. So happy to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and in future, happy scrapping.